Hello. It's me, Latasia Wright, owner of LT Wellness, and I'm hopping on here for a live little chat on my first birth story. So, Living Well Pregnant. I recently posted a 3-part series on Living Well Pregnant that gave you a few tips and then a workout and then some stretching that you can do while pregnant. I never realized how many people are interested in pregnancy. I'm not one that really likes the attention when I'm pregnant. I like to just get it done and over with, but I don't like to bring a lot of attention to it. But I've had several people say to me, you should do pregnancy workout videos. You should tell your story, blah, blah, blah. So I'm just hopping on here to tell my story because I think it could be encouraging to other women to hear stories and just tell you a little bit about what my mindset is. So starting my birth journey with my first child, I really went out on a path just because I was afraid of the epidural. I didn't want to do it because I was afraid of the needle. I still cringe if I get a shot in my arm. I was a total baby when I got my ears pierced for my second hole and I was like 18. So I never liked needles. So the idea of putting a long needle on my back just literally scared me. And so that set me on the path to try to go a natural route. And then deciding to go natural, I was like, well, I should prepare and learn as much as I can about going natural. And hello to everyone jumping on, say hi, feel free to ask questions, jump in at any time. So anyway, on this journey to learn about going natural, I learned about benefits of it, things that are probably a little corrupt in our medical field, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm now at a place now, hey Letitia, where I just support women in pregnancy. And if I have inner circles or chats with women about birth, I choose to take approach of educating or sharing what I learned and my experience versus pressing my views on women. But definitely I like to stay away from giving the fear around birth. And so I'm just going to share my birth story with my daughter. I am pregnant now, 35 weeks. If you watch this later, this will be from Facebook Live. So I'm going to put it on my YouTube channel. So if it seems weird that I'm talking to the people, this is why. So I'm going to share the story of my first child and the plan that I had and how it went. And then probably live next week, I will tell you about my plan for my birth this second time around. So first child, scared of the epidural, decided to go natural. I watched The Business of Being Born. I watched a few other documentaries and I read Emma Mae Gaskin's The Guide to Natural Childbirth. And this really set me on this path of wanting to deliver naturally and even a water birth. And so one of the biggest things I got and the biggest tips that I got from reading Emma Mae Gaskin, I always trip up on her name, was to not be married to your birth plan. You want to plan, you want to educate, you want to prepare, but she really stressed not being so married to this plan that you feel defeated and disappointed if it doesn't go the way you want to, or that you put yourself in danger because you're so wrapped up in maybe going natural or not doing this or not doing that, that you put yourself or the baby in danger. So it's funny that I went into my birth prepared for C-section, which was my very worst nightmare. Like if I had to do it, something was wrong with my baby, I was prepared to go into a C-section if needed to, if the doctors advised me, because I had picked a team and doctors and midwives and a hospital that supports natural birth. So I trusted if they told me I needed a C-section, I would go into it. So my mom was like, if we have to go there, God forbid, I'm ready. Epidural, everything that I thought about, I was prepared for. But then there was one little thing in my labor that I did not plan for. Girl, I had a plan, didn't end up following it out. Raquel, just wait for my plan. So my plan was basically to do a water birth and just try to do it natural. No pain meds, no nothing. I didn't have an epidural. I told Taj he could be my support. I didn't need a doula. I can do this. And I was at a place where I was probably still much more of a control freak than I am now. And so it was just funny. So my last appointment, I'm going to start there, was the day after my due date. And they checked me and I hadn't dilated even a half a centimeter. And so I got in my car and I cried like a baby, boo-hoo tears, sobbing, called my husband and was like, I'm going to be pregnant forever. This baby's never coming. And he didn't even want to talk to me. And if you know my husband, he's real mild-mannered and very supportive of me, but I had probably cried every day that week. He was like, I cannot take this anymore. So fast forward, after some advice from friends, Saturday, me and Taj went out to dinner and a movie. We saw Bad Grandpa, and I laughed the whole movie. We had dinner. I cried at dinner because I wanted to know how my baby was going to look. He was like, please do not cry. And I just relaxed. And that night, I got my first contraction. And I believe the reason I got my first contraction is because I finally relaxed. I thought that first contraction was gas because I had a garlicky pasta. So I was like, I'm just going to go to bed. Middle of the night, I'll say that was about 12:30. Middle of the night, an hour or two later, I got up and what they call, guys, excuse yourself if you're watching this, the bloody show came out. So I was like, oh, things are starting to move along. But if you study, that could happen a week, 2 weeks before you actually go into labor. And I wake up and contractions started. So long story short, my water broke at home around 2 o'clock. It was the weirdest thing. I went and took a nap after eating, and I woke up out of nowhere. I was like, I gotta go to the bathroom. And as I ran to the bathroom, my water popped at home. And so me and Taj sat in the bathroom because I called him in there, and I had my hands on the wall, and I was just like, it's happening. And I was like in complete shock. So we sat there and looked at each other for like 10, 15 minutes before we did anything. And so I stayed home for a little bit. I can't remember exact time it's from here, but probably about 5 o'clock I was in the hospital. They admitted me and I started laboring, dilating every hour a centimeter. And they had told me they wouldn't put me in the tub until like 6 centimeters because they say sometimes you get in the water too early, it makes you relax and slows down the process. But at this point, I'm feeling the contractions, and they're not really bothering me. But this was the thing I wasn't prepared for: back labor. I didn't read anywhere. No one told me, my midwives, no one. I never read that your back labor could be in your bottom. So I had my lower back had zero pain. I felt it all in my bottom, if you know what I mean. Staying modest, but literally felt like the pressure was coming there. So of course I got more animated and got more anxious and was just like, I don't know if I could do this. I know y'all think I'm crazy, but I think the baby's coming out of my butt. And I was starting to freak out because it turned from pressure into sharp pains. And even knowing a little bit then, but knowing more now, I think I might have made it worse on myself because it got to the point when I got in my contractions, I would do this. I would literally lock up with my contractions and squeeze my butt, which is not good. If you read anything about childbirth and trying to do it naturally, you need to be relaxed and breathe through them and not tense up. So looking back, I probably made them worse on myself. But in my mind, I started freaking out. It's like, no one told me this. I'm freaking out. I don't know if I can do this. I just freaked out. It is absolutely the devil. But Letitia, I was praying for back pain. That was not back labor. So I said, this needs its own word. It needs its own separate labor. So I was kind of comical. My nurses laughed at me. Taj was shaking his head because he probably got cussed out like 10 times at this point, being honest. But I was just like, this is not back labor. This is labor. And so I got in the water. When I tell you, it was the most tranquil experience that I ever had. I got in that water and literally fell asleep instantly. But when that next contraction came on, it felt the same. And so probably because I was already worked up at this point, the water didn't really help me because I was really getting tired and I was anxious. I was too up in arms. So it freaked me out that I still felt the contraction. It was like, yes, ma'am, you're going to feel it. It's supposed to help relax you and soothe you and help, but it's not going to take the pain away. And I was like, oh no, I don't think I could do this. How much longer do I have? And I think Ty said something like, well, the baby has to get here. So he got cussed out because I was like, of course, the baby's getting here. I just don't want to do this natural anymore. So they asked me if I was sure, and I said yes. But if you know anything about the hospital, you can't just get the medicine right then and there. I wasn't on the list. I didn't have an IV. And so there was some hours in between me actually getting the IV, and I actually didn't get it to 9 centimeters. And this is to one of the points I make. Like, if you're this worked up at this point and you're still pushing yourself to go natural, you may be exhausting yourself. I chose to get the epidural. I had no regrets about it. I didn't feel bad about it. I was getting too tired at this point. And when the man came in to give me epidural, I was ready for it. They was like, you're 9 centimeters. You still want to? I was like, yeah, I don't think I have the energy to push. I had been dehydrated at that point because I wasn't drinking anything. And the man came in, older man, very stoic. what they say, no bedside manners. But I would, if I got an epidural again, I would pray for him because I felt like he was a professional. He came in, I was like, sir, they're coming so often now, I don't think I can be still. He said, you better. And he started, y'all. He didn't give me a time to breathe or prepare me. So I kind of bust out laughing a little bit. But I'm like, oh, this man is not playing around. He was like, you better be still. I'm getting started. And I heard him open the stuff, and I just grabbed Tosh. And I can't even remember if I had a contraction during that. But they gave me the IV. Instant relief. I laid in the bed, and I fell asleep. And so when I woke back up, I'm not sure how long they let me sleep. But I was like kind of mad that I was asleep, and Taj was over there sleeping. I was like, Taj, what are you doing? Are we having this baby or what? And so he was like, I don't know, call the nurse. So I called the nurse, and they answered, and I said, are we having this baby or what? She was like, I'll send your midwife in. And so they sent her in, got me started. I pushed in less than 30 minutes, and Milani was here, safe and sound. And it was a great birth. It was an experience. And that was my birth story with my first child. Totally have no regrets about it. I would say my plan was very loose, and I was smart to be ready for whatever I needed to. I believe I could have done it natural. I had made it 9 centimeters at that point and was able to relax at that point before I pushed. But I was just so over it mentally because I worked myself up and was using too much energy, overreacting about the bottom pain. So that's my story. And I do have a plan to try again. Am I a little anxious about it? Yes. Am I having to talk myself up and use affirmations and think smart and believe that I can do it? Yes. But I believe it's still the best way. But it contributes to the fact of do what's best for you and the baby to get the baby here safe and sound. So that's my birth story. If anybody has questions for me or wants to chime in on this video after it posts or right now, you can. You can always private message me questions, but that's what happened in my first birth. I've done lots of research, and I continue to read, and I learn stuff now about the birthing process. And you really have to do what's best for you and your baby, but educate yourself. Don't be influenced in a way where you're scared into certain tactics. That's what I don't like about certain medical practices now, but find someone you trust. And that's pretty much it. So next week, either Wednesday or Thursday, I'm going to get in here and talk a little bit about my birth plan for my next baby and what I've learned and what I will do differently this time to help me get towards that goal of delivering naturally, why it's important to me. And maybe even talk about some of the benefits. But these things you all have to research for yourself if you're interested in that. But one of the biggest things to take away, don't feel guilty about what happens. Sometimes really it's out of our control. I definitely chose all my choices in my birth, but I think any woman should ever feel guilty about something that turned out. If you had to have a C-section, if you got an epidural, if things went haywire that you really couldn't control, you couldn't control it. That's the end of, that's why I think the best advice I got and read in the beginning was make a plan, but don't be married to it because you have to do what's best for the baby. I think there's a fine line between understanding the birthing process and being stubborn about what you want. Medical intervention is used way too much, but it's also saved a lot of lives. So I would never tell anybody to totally drop the idea that you would not need medical intervention because you never know. There's real life cases that causes you to need it. But that's it. That's all I have for you tonight. Just sharing my story. Let me know what you think. Oh yeah, Raquel. I didn't have the same experience because I didn't get it so early. The longer you're on that epidural can have so many side effects. So I'm not sure, I would love to talk to you about your birth story one day. But there's certain things that they've learned now about giving the epidural that probably, I know your daughter's 20 years ago, they probably didn't follow the same practices. But I like to speak positive about the feelings and sensations, especially since I'm about to deliver again, that you get during labor. You have to prepare your mind. It is an experience and it's a challenge, but it is very doable. But yes, the contraction went bad for me, but that butt labor was no joke for me. Thank you so much, Letitia. Thank you for watching and tuning in. And I accept those prayers. Y'all keep praying for me. Pray for my mind. That's where it starts at. I know I can do it. And I hope everyone has a wonderful night. I'm going to sign off here. And thank you for tuning in. I'm breathing like a beast because I'm super pregnant. But have a great day.